Welcome to another edition of Radio Influencers, a podcast series we're doing for Radio Update. I have an old friend as a guest this week. She's someone who did a panel with me at TAB. Is that where we met? Does
Yeah,
that sound right?
in person actually. I think that was yeah.
Oh, because we did one during the pandemic years where
COVID. Yeah.
during COVID where it was virtual. Oh, those were. I mean, TAB was great to work with, but it's always fun, with a bunch of people eating their sandwich while you're doing
Yeah.
a speech. Yeah.
A webinar.
So Christina Olivarez is the owner of Social Butterfly Gal and Hustle and Socialize. You're an award-winning visibility and business coach, social media expert, and TEDx speaker, based right here in the great state of Texas. Did I miss anything in there?
No, you got it. You got it all good.
And I encourage everybody to go watch that TEDx talk you did. I want to say the title was "Reimagining the Way You Use Social Media," but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what was crazy is yesterday, or yeah, 2 days ago, it was actually the 4 year anniversary of when I gave the TEDx talk. And I actually went back and dissected what I said to see how it holds true to today in
Uh-huh.
2024. And, even though things have changed with social media, a lot of the core principles that I talk about still hold true into the TEDx talk. So I 100% recommend watching that as well because you will learn a lot about social media and where we are today.
Yeah, just whenever she says Twitter, just know she means X. No, right, basically.
X. Exactly.
I do have
So
one question.
true.
I do have one question from that. Are you still an NSYNC fan?
I am still an NSYNC fan. I'm waiting for them to go on tour. I have my pocketbook ready. My bank account is ready.
I can't poke fun though because now I grew up in a country radio station, so the I never bought
Yeah.
country albums because we had those laying around. But the first CD I bought was New Kids on the Block. So fe-
Ah,
fellow boy band. Yeah,
boy band fan.
I think first one may have been Paula Abdul, but one of the first two was definitely New Kids on the Block. So, but I'm a little
I
older than
love
you, so
that.
my boy band that I got into as a kid was them. So you also have a connection to radio, though, right?
I do. I when I was in broadcasting, I was part of our college radio station. So I was on air when I was in college. I believe I was a junior or senior, and I hosted a radio show on the Texas State University radio station.
Oh, Texas State University. That's San Marcos.
Yes, San Marcos. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's. See, I
Mhm.
always get confused because my brother went there, but it was called
Uh huh.
Southwest, right? When he
Yes.
went, I
Yeah.
think you were probably
Back
there
in the
right after it
day.
changed.
I was, yeah, I was. So we're part of like the Texas State, and they had their own radio station. And while I was there, we did like a student run news, program, and I got to do a couple of stories, and it was very interesting. I really enjoyed it.
And when we did so kind of using that background, when we spoke at TAB, you had a lot of good thoughts on things you'd seen radio personalities or stations do on social media. Anything maybe you want to bring back up from there, or that you've seen since we spoke at TAB that radio has done that kind of jumped out to you?
Yeah, you know what's so interesting is the way video content has come about. And I think you're seeing this more and more where now we're starting to see radio stations actually incorporate more video. And then when they're in person at specific events, they're live streaming. Now there's this medium to where you can actually see the face, put the face to the voice, right? And put the voice to the face, and kind of getting like an idea of who these personalities are. And I think one thing that has changed so much in the last couple of years is just the way we're utilizing AI with everything that we're doing. So now you're starting to see more people, whether it is broadcast personalities or radio podcasters, they're utilizing AI to now edit their shows and edit their
Absolutely.
scripts and transcripts. And so now the process is starting to become much more quicker and efficient because of these tools. And I think that that's something that every single person in broadcast has to adapt to and evolve to, because now instead of having to utilize the old way of editing and putting up your shows, it's now going into a tool that can quickly put it together just by saying like, hey, here is this clip and could you edit, like all the ways that ChatGPT has worked. And so I feel like that has been something that I've seen, at least in the last couple of years, since AI really came to the forefront of everything that we're doing.
Well, I love that you mentioned both of those things because one, I'm always pushing the shows I coach and the stations I work with to incorporate more video, and there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
resistance. I'm and I was I understand that because
Mm-hmm.
at first when I started doing stuff on video, I felt very uncomfortable because I'm an audio guy. I didn't know what to
Yeah.
do with my hands. I'm not nearly as comfortable on video as I am from an audio standpoint. So I understand that
Yeah.
the resistance to do the video stuff, but as you know, it works so well on social media,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
it they all think of it as a whole lot of extra work that they have to do. But what I always encourage them, like, if you roll video on your entire show, you don't have to put the whole thing out there, but you can turn that into reels using AI, like you mentioned, in no time.
Exactly. Exactly. And
But
I feel too, even if you have any type of audio component, because of video, yes, we're still listening on, our streaming services, we're still listening in our cars, but when there is a specific show, we like to sit down and watch the show itself. And I think you see that with TikTok and Reels, to where there are radio stations not just in Texas but like all parts of the country where they have a guest on, and you're seeing it in the pre-recorded way on TikTok, to where now you're watching the medium and you can have two sets of pieces of content that you could utilize. You could still have the audio version but then still have the actual video component, and I think it just makes for great programming.
yeah, it all extends what you're doing in the brand. I mean, the resistance initially is they would say, well, I talk to hundreds. If you're talking to a major market, they'll say I'm talking to a million people every day, or I'm talking to hundreds of thousands of people every day on the radio. Why would I want to talk to just a handful of people on our station website or on social media? And what they're kind of missing is it's all incremental people. It's all like adding to it. And besides, as you get better at this stuff, I mean, there are stations that have a cum of 100,000 and have that big of a following or bigger on social, and so
Mm-hmm.
especially if they boost something, they may
Yep.
get a million impressions on something on social that's 10 times bigger than their cum. I mean, you just gotta you can't let the fact that the first couple times you do it, it's not going to get a huge reach keep you from even trying.
Exactly. And you never know when something can, spark that engagement. I always say, like, one clip might not get a really great reach, and then maybe you decide to actually do another clip, boost that clip, and then all of a sudden your pages are getting more visibility, and now your show is starting to blow up, or even you as a radio personality start to get a really big social media following. And so I feel it's something that you can't really avoid anymore. I really do feel like that's the way of where audio pieces are going.
You mentioned AI. Is there any particular AI ways you're using AI in your business that you weren't maybe a year ago that's really helped
Yeah.
your productivity?
I So there's a couple of things. Obviously, ChatGPT is a thing I use regularly. I use a lot of it to do copywriting on my website, even helping me with social media captions, or just helping me produce my lives that I do on social media. I also use it to analyze my audience. So I'll put in the data in ChatGPT and say, like, here is my demographics, here's everything about my audience. help me create copy, or where do I need to shift into, right? So I use ChatGPT in that way. But one thing I really love is a lot of the video tools that I use for editing are starting to incorporate AI into each of their into the platforms and the systems. So anytime I'm editing a video, it will automatically create like a social media caption for me, or it will automatically put the clips that I need into, like if it was a podcast episode, for example, and I'm needing it to analyze my whole entire video and say, hey, I want these two clips, find them for me, help me create a caption. It does that super quickly. And in fact, like with my TEDx talk on YouTube, I went to like an AI transcript and like analyze this, TEDx talk and give me kind of a transcript of what I said. And I ended up creating that into like written content. And so I think like these tools specifically are very helpful. One of the things too that I love the most is Canva's AI tool.
Hmm.
Now, instead of having to do a whole entire presentation, I'm able to just create it through AI. And that's helped me simplify some of the things that I do just as a coach, but also whenever I'm editing, because I think that's the longest, right? Sometimes it's like you have this video, you recorded it, and now, or you recorded audio, now you need to put that video together, just put things together, and it makes it very tedious. And now it's one of those things where, hey, I have the audio or I have the video and it's good to go. And I know on the social media side as well, there's AI tools called ManyChat where it helps you create comments and engagement. And it also has like an automation trigger where if someone comments on your post and you want to send them a specific episode from your program, it will automatically send that episode to them. So if you're
Oh,
promoting your
wow.
latest podcast episode, all you would have to do is put a secret word or like a code word in the comments, and the chatbot would automatically send that direct episode into your DMs. And that has been super beneficial.
Yeah, it's really leveled the playing field. I mean, because it's like having an in-house editor or two, even if you're a small
Mm-hmm.
operation. And if you were doing your own editing, like I did a lot of my own editing, it saves me enormous amounts of time because I no longer have to do that, or what I have to do takes 30 minutes instead of several hours now because of
Right.
utilizing these AI tools. So it's foolish to not use it, really.
Yeah.
Like like this one. So we're using Riverside's the platform we're recording this podcast episode on. They have built-in AI tools like you talked about, and that creates the reels for this that I'll share
Huh.
on social from this podcast. And
Yeah.
it creates anywhere from 5 to 10 per episode, and you have to adjust them a hair. But like you said, the captions are already all there. And if I don't like it well enough, I there's another one I use, Opus Clip and Spike Studio. I've used both of
Mm.
those, and Video
Okay.
AI is another one. But there's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of these, and they're all super affordable. I mean, talking 30,
Yeah.
$50 a month type stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think that's where too that hesitation you had mentioned in the beginning of like the hesitation of utilizing some of these tools, or even just going to the video side. But I really do feel like if you're not on board with this, you're going to get left behind, because that's the future, and the future is here now. I think their tools are probably going to get smarter and smarter. And we see Apple and Google and even Meta incorporating a lot of these automation tools and the AI tools. And so it's almost as if, like you said, if you're not utilizing them, like you need to start, because that is where we're headed.
Yeah, yeah. Like you said, we're already here, and
Here.
that's why I always tell folks, like you said, uh, if you don't embrace these tools and your competitors do, that puts you in a really bad position. It makes it very hard for you to
Mhm.
compete with those folks. And when we're talking to radio stations, I mean, you understand every radio station knows exactly who their competition is, other radio stations,
Right.
and now digital creators and all kinds of folks in each individual market. You know who your competition is, and I guarantee you, most of them are using these AI tools in some way already. So you gotta get on board. You just don't have a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like it's 100% like everyone needs to start embracing one video, and two, like the automation parts of it in order to actually see that success that they're wanting to see.
Any changes on the social platforms or their algorithms that kind of need to be on our radar? Anything you've seen recently or might be coming down the
Oh
pike?
my, yeah, I definitely feel like Instagram, they've been very transparent of the things that they're really prioritizing a little bit more in now than in the past. So Adam Mosseri, who's the head of Instagram, he stated a couple of months ago that they're really starting to prioritize more of the direct messages and more of the saves and the shares when it comes to specific metrics that they're looking at. And
Hmm.
so I always tell clients, you want to create content that is going to get people to want to share your content. So you want to have that in mind. Like, when I'm creating this content, is it shareable? Is it something that's going to make people want to send to their friends in the DM? They were talking about how more people are interacting privately than they are through comments and through different things that they have on Instagram. More and more people
Hmm.
are sending direct messages, and I feel like we're starting to see bits and pieces of the algorithms kind of go to a little bit more of what is bingeable and what is shareable. And I think about the way that I utilize my Instagram. Half of the time I'm watching stories, half of the time I'm watching video, and a lot of the time I'm talking to people in my DMs. And so I think that that's something to even think about when you're managing in your radio station of, okay, you might have somebody that's on your social team, but are they regularly interacting with your fans? Our local radio station, one of the things that I love that they do is they are regularly doing features in the community. So they're prioritizing a lot of their social media content with collaborating with different influencers and different digital creators in the local community. And so they're doing, if there's a specific concert that's happening, that influencer is taking over their social media account, or they're doing cross promotion videos and different things that allow for the influencer to get the reach with the radio station, and almost using it as a point of, you're the connector to the community, and here we are as a radio station, how can we blend the two? And I feel like that strategy has worked a lot, especially on in San Antonio. But I mean, the algorithms, I think one thing we're seeing too is with TikTok, for example, there's a lot more emphasis on the shop. So a lot of TikTok content is kind of coming into like a QVC, where
Yeah.
they're pushing products out and they're pushing the videos of like shopping and getting people to actually make purchases off of the app. So it's different things. I know it always changes, and so you really have to keep your pulse on the different things. But I think mostly we're seeing more people just want to have those authentic connections and those conversations.
Well, and you're so right about it always changing. That's why, I mean, you just have to be nimble. But the great thing is you can
Mm-hmm.
see in real time what's working and what's not. And so you have to, we're all
Mm-hmm.
kind of creatures of habit. And once we do something, then we get a good reaction from it. We just want to keep kind of doing something in a similar way, but we have to be willing to
Yep.
adjust our strategy if that, because we don't know. People like you sometimes have an inside track, but most of us don't really know when the algorithm changes. You know what I mean? It kind of just
You can
changes out from
tell.
under us.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of times where you could tell something is shifting because you'll see it. you'll see the engagement kind of drop. Like I'll know, oh, they're adding in a new feature, because you could tell when your story reach is off, or you posted something and it's not getting good traction, and you're like, okay, Instagram, what are you doing? And then that's when you could tell, like, oh, this piece of content's not working in the way that I used to. Now I need to shift and pivot. And so, yeah, to your point, like, they change so quickly that you almost have to be on it at all times to get an understanding of it.
Yeah, and the other thing you said that I really liked, because I think stations need to be doing more of this, but the content partnerships
Mhm.
with influencers. What I always say is influencers and podcasters, if there are people within your market creating their own content, like taking the initiative to create their own content and it's connecting with your local
Mhm.
audience, why not do a content partnership with them? Why not work with them? I'm not saying to
Exactly.
fire the people that you got and put them in, but content partnerships don't cost you much, because these people are wanting to get, they want to get heard on the radio. They want to get their brand promoted on the radio. So it's not a big expense, especially if you tie in a sponsor and you can throw them a little bit of a talent fee for that. There are ways to pay
Yeah.
for it, and that mutually benefit the influencer and the radio station.
Yeah, we have a festival here. I actually used to do the social media when I was managing for the festival. It's called Fiesta San Antonio, and it's a 10-day just celebration of our culture and celebration of San Antonio. And when I used to do the social media for that festival, we one of the partners was a radio station, and so we partnered with them because they would broadcast at the events, and we brought in a couple of influencers to host giveaways. They would do, specific VIP seating, and they would have the talent as the influencer, and giving them an eye of what is actually going on in this VIP section, and even just doing like contests and different things that, the radio station can get in front of when it comes to the local audience, but also the influencer themselves is leveraging their influence. And I think that that was something that's so awesome about what I see with our radio stations here is they are looking at, okay, if there's a restaurant that's opening up and they want to have some extra promotion, where can we maybe get an influencer to come in, and they utilize their social media as well. So it's not just like, hey, we're going to be out in the street with this influencer, but the influencer is, getting all the content, and then they do a collaboration post on Instagram, and now their post is on the radio station's social media, which is like double the exposure. And I think that that's something to start thinking about, if people haven't done it already, even in smaller markets. I think that that's the hardest part, is like in a big market it's easy because you have all these influencers, but when you are a very small market, even if it is an influencer from the nearest town, I mean, just starting to think of like who's in that area that maybe could be that connector.
Well, and nowadays, even in medium markets, small markets, there's somebody out there like creating a podcast,
Exactly.
or that has because it's all relative. So you don't have to have an enormous.
Right.
So that's what a lot of people mistake, is they think, well, I'm not an influencer. I don't have a million followers. Well, if you have very engaged followers in a small market, it doesn't take very many at all to have some real
Exactly.
value to your following that you can tap into. And so, yeah, I would encourage small, medium markets, everybody to think of that. And another way to think of it is, we've all been doing that for years. Radio stations have been doing that for years with artists. Like if you do an event with a
Yes.
promotion with an artist, you want to put that in the contract that you're going to promote it on social and everything else. So it's no different than partnering with an artist, partnering with an influencer. You know,
Exactly. Exactly. I think it's changed a bit, right? Just with the influencer now, but it's exactly the same thing.
you mentioned a couple live events there in San Antonio. It really seems like live events are making a comeback. I mean, you even see Netflix getting into the live event
Yeah. Yeah.
space. Do you think that's a fad, or do you think that's a trend that's here to stay?
I would love to say that it is here to stay, because I think the pandemic forced us to isolate, and for so long, in that time frame, we were in our homes, And now you're starting to see more people wanting to engage with others and be in community with others. And I know, like, in the last couple of years, maybe like from 22 to now, you're seeing even just more, not even for concerts, but if there is a community event, and I think that like San Antonio does an incredible job, if there's a 5K going on, or if there's a health fair, if there's a restaurant, like all these different things, and they bring the radio stations out there with their tents. And then now it's sort of like this family affair to where you can bring your kids, the radio station is, giving away promotional items, and now we're just in community with each other. I want to say it's going to stay. I don't think it's a fad. I hope not. But
Yeah.
I think more and more people are just wanting to have like community time and time outdoors and just time with other people.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, and sadly, that's one thing that radio is kind of cut back on because of
Hmm.
budgeting cuts and things. We definitely don't do as many events as we used to, a decade, 2 decades ago. But
Yeah.
I would like to see more of that. And the great thing is that's kind of the fun part. We all really enjoy that part anyway because
Yeah.
events are fun, and that anytime I ask radio people, like, tell me some of the great stories of things that, we're all sitting around talking about our careers, it's always event related. It's always some
Exactly.
promotion related to that. So I
Hmm.
would love to see us get back to doing more station events again in
Hmm.
radio. Any tips and tricks of ways that radio could better use social media to promote those kind of events?
Yeah, I definitely, number one, would say like look into who is an influencer or a digital creator in your community, and start building relationships with those people so that you know how to leverage the social media. I think even in a live event setting, or just like a day-to-day operations, right? Like, I know AI is easy to create comments around, right? If you just put the comment, but taking the time too to see who is following you. You might have a huge following, so it might be a little difficult, but look to see if they comment on your post, and don't be afraid to comment back and create that social. So I've always said it, social is meant to be social. It's social media. And so that's why it's really important to say, okay, who's commenting? Maybe we could develop a relationship with them, and then also looking to see like how can we better leverage the video side, because that is huge. And so if you are bringing someone into your station, bring your phone cameras out and start recording with your camera, and you can have reels or TikToks, or if you have professional cameras, just have something nearby to where it's capturing video, so that you can immediately put that onto your social media and leverage both types of content.
Yeah, that's a great point because when we think back, there's so many missed opportunities to capture content that we all
Mm.
have, and I don't know how many times it's been like, I can't believe we had that guy stop by, and this major artist or whatever, and we didn't. Did anybody even get a picture? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We didn't get a picture, or did we get
Yeah.
any video? And it's just got to be top of mind for us, and just part of the routine of this is what we do when somebody comes in our building. We capture some video, we capture a picture, and even if you don't know how you're going to use it initially, still
Exactly.
still make sure you capture it.
Exactly. I always think too, whenever I'm, going into an event or something, I just make sure that I get at least 5 seconds of video in anything that I'm doing. That way, if I want to use it later, or, if I don't use it later, or even taking pictures with people that I'm at a networking event, I always make sure, like, okay, was there some documentation that I was at this event, so that I can utilize it on social media. And I think that people have to think about that too. Or even just like, I would love to see day in the lives of like what it looks like at your radio station, or, just different types of content that could be really fun for the audience to see, like the authenticity of each person that's working there.
Yeah, and that's what anytime. So I've got a friend that runs a video production company, and so we've gone to a lot of events together that he's worked, and that's the first thing I noticed and asked him about, like the amount of B-roll that they capture.
Yeah,
For their because it's top of mind for them. They just think like that. So at any event, they're just constantly filming, and it's like, why would you even film that? But it's just because they know they're going to need things to cut between and all kinds of
exactly.
of that stuff. So the more of that content you can capture, the better. But so we kind of sorry, I know I'm keeping you long, but we kind of touched on it at the beginning. But what's the best way for people to get in contact with you and to find all your
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah, the best way is Instagram. You can find me at the social butterfly gal, and I'm also on LinkedIn. Just search my name. But Instagram is mostly like where I like to hang out. I'm on every single platform as well, but you'll definitely find me more on Instagram.
Yeah, and I like I mentioned before, I definitely encourage everybody to go watch that TEDx talk that you did because, like you said, it holds up. I mean, I said that you
Yeah.
didn't say that. You just said that a lot of the stuff hasn't changed, but it definitely. I
Yeah.
went back and watched it again, and I mean, you've got some really solid advice. You definitely know this stuff very well.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And hopefully, and you should come to TAB again next year. We spoke a couple years ago,
I
but that's just down
should.
the road from you since you're in San Antonio. So
Mhm.
we'd love to have you back there. And there's definitely any radio people watching this that need some help on social media. Christina's a good person
Mhm.
to reach out to. You do private coaching as well, right?
I do. Yes, I do one on one private coaching and then I do corporate training as well on all things personal branding, online marketing, public speaking, those things for corporations.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time
Mhm.
today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Radio Influencers is a radio update production. New episodes are released on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.